ko lang yung recording. Again, this is module number 2, integral formulas. Starting with our first formula, the power formula, which again has already been introduced to you before. This is now the integrand u raised to n du equal now to your integral of u raised to n plus 1 over n plus 1 plus your integration constant, which gives us our general formula for the power formula. What are those terms that you have found here? Starting with u raised to n, this is now your integrand or the first term, which carries the different functions such as power functions, your algebraic functions, trigonometric functions, exponential, inverse trigonometric, and logarithmic. Then your u is basically any function. This particular integral formula does not require that the exponent should not be equal to negative 1. But if it is equal now to negative 1, therefore we'll have to involve the integral formula using logarithmic function, yung mayroong ln. Then du is simply the remaining term, which is your second term carrying your entire integrand. This is now the exact differential. This is now your exact differential of the base of the first term. Ngayon lang. So, kagaya kahapon, ganun ulit ang ating process. Again, wala pa tayo sa limits, so you no longer need to think of the limits muna. We're still dealing with indefinite integrals involving different integral formulas, which is our first stop is power formula. Knowing that, start tayo sa ating first example. Example agad. So, yung nasa module nyo, ang haba-haba, puro word. Now, for your first example, integrate or evaluate the given indefinite integral, giving us x raised to 6 minus 7x raised to 4 plus 3x raised to 3 minus 4x squared plus x plus 5 and your dx. Shown here is our problem or our first example problem. Napakadali lang. Distribution property ng ating indefinite integral from last meeting. Walang exponent sa labas ng ating open close parenthesis. So basically, we no longer need to expand this multinomial terms. Then we'll just have to introduce our integral sign to each of those functions. So we'll have integral of x raised to 6 dx minus 7x raised to the 4. Meron tayong constant sa function na yan. Labas natin si constant. Then we'll only integrate x raised to 4 dx plus 3 x raised to 3 dx minus 4 x raised to 2 plus x dx plus 5 dx. 5 is constant. Wala naman siyang kasamang function x. So basically, apply again your basic knowledge with differential as well as the topic that we have discussed yesterday, the properties of indefinite integral. Again, isusulat ko pa ba? 6. So 6 plus 1, that is 7 over 7 minus 7 x raised to the 4, so plus 1 raised to the 5 plus 3, then x raised to 3, so plus 1 raised to the 4th over 4 minus 4 x squared, so plus 1 x cubed over 3 plus x squared over 2 plus 5x. Tapos na ba yan? Hindi pa. Ang kulang is your integration constant. Simplify further. 1 over 7x minus 7/5 x raised to the 5 plus 3/4 x raised to the 4th minus 4/3 x cubed plus 1/2 x squared plus 5x plus c. So this is now our final answer for this problem. Okay? Dali lang, diba? Nakakasunod?
Yes, sir.
Next up, marami-raming to, huwag kayong mag-alala. This is 20 examples for power formula para hindi kayo, para manawa kayo sa example. Baka sabihin ninyo, nagbibigay si sir ng ng assignment and quizzes na hindi naman niya diniscuss. Number 2, what if our functions carries an exponents that are in fraction form? So if we have a function of x raised to 3 halves minus 4x raised to 1/3 minus 2x raised to 1/5. Again, this particular integrand does no longer need to be expanded. Wala tayong exponent sa labas ng parenthesis. So basically, introduce lang natin si integral sign sa bawat function. So, x raised to 3 halves dx minus 4 x raised to 1/3 dx minus 2 x raised to 1/5 dx. Then, same process. X raised to 3 halves plus 1 over 3 halves plus 1 minus 4 x raised to 1/3 plus 1 over 1/3 plus 1 minus 2 times x raised to 1/5 plus 1 over 1/5 plus 1. Then, plus your integration constant. Using your calculator, kayo nang bahala kung gusto nyo pang i-simplify, ng bahala kung gusto nyo pang isa-isahin yan. Simplify further gives us 2/5 x raised to 5 halves minus 3x raised to 4/3 minus 5/3 x raised to 6/5 plus your integration constant. So, ganun lang kasimple, no? This will be our final answer for this problem. Malinaw naman po yung sulat, maliit yung sulat or mas malaki, eksakto lang. Sakto lang. Sige, never mind. Okay, next up. Example number 3. For example number 3, what if our function carries a negative exponent? So this, we have y raised to the 4th minus 3y raised to negative 2 plus y raised to negative 1/2. Ganon ulit. We no longer need to expand this particular integrand. Take note, sinabi ko kanina, if a function or a first term carries an exponent that is equal to negative, it should not be equal now to negative 1. But if it is equal to negative 1, we'll have to use a logarithmic formula. But then again, with this particular problem, it is lower than negative 1. Therefore, we could still apply the power formula. Introduce natin sa bawat function si ating integral sign. Y raised to the 4th dy minus 3 y raised to negative 2 dy plus integral of y raised to negative 1/2 dy. Okay? Simplify that or integrate. We'll have y raised to negative 4 plus 1 over negative 4 plus 1. 3 times y raised to negative 2 plus 1 over negative 2 plus 1 plus y raised to negative 1/2 plus 1 over negative 1/2 plus 1. Then plus your integration constant. Pag yan ay naging negative 1, kung ang inyong function or first term turns out to have an exponent of negative 1, take note, negative 1 plus 1 is 0. So indefinite yung ating magiging term later on. Hindi siya recognized. So basically, we'll have to use the logarithmic function. But with this is less than negative 1, therefore we could still apply power formula. Simplify this one further. This is y raised to negative 3 over negative 3 minus 3 y negative 1 over negative 1 plus y raised to 1/2 over 1/2 plus c. Simplify, that is a variable having a negative exponent. Therefore, our answer should be in inverse. So 1 over 3 y raised to 3 minus 3 over y plus 2y raised to 1/2 plus c. So that, then that will serve as our final answer. Okay? Okay. Okay. For example, let's just say, example number 4. How about, if we have a, what do you call this? An integrand that has a square root or in cube root 1 minus 2x. What if ganito yung ating integrand? Simplify, given that this one is in inverse, we could simply express that as 1 minus 2x raised to negative 1/3 dx. It is still less than negative 1. So we could still apply our power formula. But then again, take note of our integrand. U is our integrand. That is 1 minus 2x. Differentiate that one, gives us 2 dx. To put the system, or to equate the system, we need to introduce a correcting factor, negative 2 dx, a correcting factor equal now to negative 1/2 to cancel out that 2 dx. By doing so, lagay natin si 1/2 as our constant, integral sign, 1 minus 2x raised to negative 1/3 minus 2 dx. Cancel yan. So, this will be our integral form. 1 minus 2x raised to negative 1/3 plus 1 all over negative 1/3 plus 1 plus c. Then, that is simply equal now. Simplify nyo na lang. Kaya na mag-simplify on your own. That is negative 3/4 times 1 minus 2x raised to 2/3 plus c. So, tapos. Example number 4.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, saan po paano po nakakancel yung yung negative 2 dun sa may dx? Yung negative 2 dx. Di ba na-cancel po yung negative 2? Paano po na-cancel yun?
Yung?
Ito pong negative 2 dx. Paano po na-cancel yung negative 2?
Yun yung ating rule when it comes to integrating an integrand with a function such as this form. So, parang ito yan. Parang correcting factor natin yun para matanggal si negative 2. Kasi we differentiate first the function enclosed in this parenthesis. After differentiating that one, mag-introduce tayo ng correcting factor relevant doon sa ating integrand, u, or term u, 1 minus 2x, para matanggal si negative 2dx.
Okay po, sir. Thank you po.
Pag may exponent yan, ganun ulit. Which is our next example. Now, for our next example, yun kasi naka-constant na siya, so we can easily remove yung ating negative 2x. Paano kung meron pa siyang variable at naka-function form pa siya? So that is example number 5. What if you're asked to evaluate an indefinite integral of 1 plus y squared raised to 2 dy? Yan, paano pag ganyan? Sabi mo, sir, u is simply identified as 1 plus y squared. Differentiate that one gives us du of 2y dy. Tama? Tama. Right? But in the given indefinite integral, or in the given integrand, we does not have a function of 2y dy here. But instead, we only have the differentiated variable dy. So, kahit pilitin mo na mag-introduce ng 1/2 dy or du, hindi siya parehas doon sa ating integrand. Okay? So with that said, ang pwede lang natin gawin with this one is to basically expand the term. So expand natin si term gives us 1 plus 2y squared plus y raised to the 4th. Then dy. Then distribute your integral sign. dy plus 2y squared dy plus y raised to the 4th dy. Kayo nang bahala. That is y plus 2/3 y cubed plus y raised to the 5 over 5 plus c. Gives us our final answer. But then again, if now the integrand has that one variable that we need to use to cancel out and provide the necessary correcting factor, we'll then be able to solve such problem. So, kanina, wala si y dy. Ngayon, meron si y dy. Identify your first term, 1 plus y squared. Differentiate that one, du. That is 2y dy. With that said, introduce tayo ng correcting factor, 1/2 du. 1/2 integral 1 plus y squared raised to 2. Kunin natin yun, 2y dy. Dahil, andun na rin siya. It will serve as equal to 1. By doing so, matatanggal na yan. Then we could now integrate this one as 1 raised to 2. 2 plus 1 over 2 plus 1 plus c. That is now 3/2 of 1 plus y squared raised to 3 plus c.
Sir, di po makita.
Ay, sorry. Ayan. That is now 3/2 of 1 plus y squared plus c. Ganun lang. Ganun din when it comes to logarithmic, when it comes to exponential, and when it comes to ang tawag na dito, trigonometric functions. You just have to extract something within your integrand that is common with your differentiated integrand to provide the necessary correcting factor para ma-cancel out yung isang term.
Sir. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me po. Ay.
May nagsasalita. Hello? Ano po yon?
Sir, yung correcting factor po ba, hindi, yung kanina po, yung bagong erase, hindi po ba 1 over 2y? 1
Hindi
po
po,
ba, sir?
hindi pwede yun. Magiging siyang function. Hindi siya magiging
okay.
constant. Ang correcting factor mo dapat constant lagi. Kasi meron na yung y dy doon sa ating integral. You just have to introduce a correcting factor to remove the y dy such that yung matitira is your correcting factor. Okay? Rico. Question. Ang example ngayon? 6, 7. For example number 6. Now, what if our example is this one? Integrate or evaluate the given indefinite integral a cube minus y cube square dy. The differentiated form is the y variable. So meaning, the other term here is basically what? Or the other function here is basically your constant. So we'll just have to assume a cube and we'll just have to assume a cube as our constant. So with that said, alam nyo naman na yan, expand. So that is a raised to 6 minus 2a cube y cube plus y raised to 6 dy. Distribute your integral sign. Again, constant yung ating a. So a raised to 6 integral dy minus 2a cube integral y cube dy plus y6 y raised to 6 dy. Integrate, that is a raised to 6y minus, that is 3 plus 1, 4, 2 over 4, 1 half. 1 half a cube y raised to 4th plus 1/7 y raised to the 7th plus c. Right? Ay. Plus c. So this is now our final answer. Laging tignan kung ano yung ating kailangang i-differentiate or pinanggalingan ng ating differentiation. Then, other than that, will serve as our constant. Pero pwede ka rin gumawa ng substitution, which is in module 3. Next one. Example number 8. What if you are given an integrand that has an exponent greater than 2? 4x plus 1 raised to 3 dx. By simply applying your knowledge in differential calculus as well as a general formula for power formula, you could easily solve this one as like 1/4 4x plus 1 raised to the 4 plus c. Di pala. Kasi meron tayong correcting factor. That is 1/16 4x plus 1 raised to the 4 plus c. Okay? Alam niyo kung saan nakuha yung 1/16? One over 16. Ulitin natin. U 4x plus 1 differentiate. That is 4 dx. Correcting factor 1/4 du. Then introduce natin yan dyan. We'll have a constant of 1/4. Then 4x plus 1 raised to 3 4 dx. Cancel na yan. Di na natin kailangan yan. Magiging 1 na lang kasi yan. Then 1/4 4x plus 1 raised to the 4 over 4. Or that is 1/16 4x plus 1 raised to the 4th power plus c. So, yun na yun. Or, if you're asked to expand the term first, expand nyo daw. Apply lang natin si a plus b raised to 3. So, that is your a cube plus or minus 3a squared b plus or minus 3ab squared plus or minus b cube. Ganun din kung yan ay raised to the 4th, 5th, and so forth and so on. Basics expansion lang. Expand ba natin or kayo nang bahala? Alam niyo naman mag-expand, no? Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay lang? Okay. Now, next example. Example number 9. Example number 9. What if you're asked now to evaluate the indefinite integral of z dz over the cube root of 4z squared plus a squared. Remember, the differentiated variable or function is your variable z. Therefore, the other form here or the other function in this particular integrand will serve as our functions. So a squared is a function and 4 is also is a constant and 4 is also a constant. Simplify muna natin yung para mas madaling makita yung pwede natin gawing solution. That is 4z squared plus a squared raised to negative 1/3 z dz. Now, kailangan nyo ngayon mag-introduce ng correcting factor. Identify our integrand u, first term, that is your 4z squared plus a squared. Remember, 4 and a squared is constant. Therefore, if we differentiate this one, well, it gives us 8z dz. Or, remember, z dz has already been introduced in our integrand. So, magiging 1 na yung term na yan. So that this one will become 1, we'll have to introduce a correcting factor of 1/8 du. That is 1/8 4z squared plus a squared raised to negative 1/3 8z dz. So, makakancel na yan. 1/8. Integrate nyo na lang. 4z squared plus a squared negative 1/3 plus 1 all over negative 1/3 plus 1 plus your integration constant. Gives us equal now to 3/16. Negative 1/3 plus 1 is 2/3. 1/8 over 2/3 is 3/16. 3/16. 4z squared plus a squared raised to 2/3 plus c. Ito na yung ating final answer. Ay, naku po. Ang init. Question. Question. Example number 10. For your example number 10, what if you're asked to evaluate the indefinite integral of x raised to the 4th plus a raised to the 4th times x raised to negative 4 dx. Negative 4 dx. X raised to the 4 plus a raised to the 4th, open close parenthesis, times x raised to negative 4. Pwede mo bang integrate that as it is? Ganyan lang. Pag kinuha natin si x raised to the 4 plus a raised to the 4 as our integrand term u, differentiate, ang makukuha natin is 4x cubed dx. But, hindi siya parehas dito sa ating x raised to negative 4 dx. But then, we have that basic knowledge in algebra. We'll have to distribute this variable to this term para mas madali nating ma-evaluate yung ating integrand. So with that said, x raised to the 4 times x raised to negative 4, anong gagawin natin sa exponent? Add. So 4 plus negative 4 is simply equal to 1. X raised to 0 or simply 1. Plus x raised to the 4 times x raised to negative 4. Ang differentiated variable is x. Therefore, a raised to the 4 is our constant. So differentiate that one, integrate that one gives us dx plus a raised to the 4 x negative 4 dx. Simplify x plus a raised to the 4 x negative 4 negative 3 over negative 3 plus c. Simplify gives us x plus a, that variable has an exponent of negative, so negative 3. So ibaba natin siya, 3x raised to 3 plus c. Yun na yung ating final answer. Yun lang. Now, medyo boring na sir. Paulit-ulit na
Sir.
ang nangyayari. Yes, may nagtatanong?
Hindi po ba sa negative po? Negative a raised to 4 over 3 raised to cube po. X raised to cube. X cube.
Negative. Hindi po, hindi. Kasi in-inverse natin siya, so therefore, may inverse din yung ating value. Sa baba. Now, for your practice, sa inyo na to, di ko tatapusin itong problem na to. For your practice, this is problem 11. Tama ba? 11. Integrate or evaluate x minus x raised to the 8th, then raised to the 6th dx. for your exercise. Try to answer this problem on your own. Dapat, ang mapalabas ninyo, simplified form, 1 over 25, 1 minus x raised to the 5 plus c. Expanded form, 1 over 7, x raised to the 7 minus 3x raised to the 14 plus 5x raised to 21 minus 3x 35 minus x raised to 42 plus x raised to 49 over 49 plus c. Kayong bahala. If you want to simplify the integrand, you will then be able to solve this simplified form. Pero kung ikaw ay hindi sanay sa simplification, gusto mo yung expansion, expand mo yung integrand, then you will then have this answer. Okay? Nasa sa inyo na yan. Practice nyo na lang. Now, how about you're asked to integrate or evaluate terms in trigonometric form? Number 12. You're asked to evaluate an indefinite integral of sine cube y cosine y dy. Ba't ganun yung sulat? Wait lang bagal eh. Ayun. Sine cube y cosine y dy. Remember your trigonometric rule under differential calculus. The derivative of sine is basically cosine. Now, it's up to you kung saan sa dalawang yan ang gagamitin nating first term. Yung may exponent ba or yung walang exponent. So, as much as possible, we can use yung ating term na merong exponent. So, let's just use our first term is your sine y, such that sine y could be differentiated as cosine y dy, given that this term is already present in our integrand. So basically, makakancel na yung part na yan. Ang kailangan na nating i-integrate is yung ating sine cube y dy, which is now equal to sine raised to the 4th y over 4 plus c. Nag-add lang tayo ng isa. Lang yan. Yun na yun. Then next one, parehas lang. 13, integrate or evaluate sine to y cosine to y dy. Now, it's up to you kung sine to y ang first term natin or cosine to y. Either way, let's try to solve both of them. Let's assume that our first term is your sine to y, such as the differential form of that. Remember, sine to y from your differential formulas or the trigonometric functions has a derivative form of cosine to y of 2 dy. But in the integrand, we already have cosine to y dy. But we don't have this value. So we need to introduce a correcting factor of 1/2 for us to be able to remove this 1. That is now 1/2 sine to y of 2 cosine to y dy. So matatanggal na yan. So basically, that is now 1/2 of sine 1 plus 1, 2 to y over 2 plus c, or that is 1/4 sine raised to the 2 to y plus c. Or, kung gusto mong gamitin yung cosine to y, u natin is cosine to y. Differentiate, that is now negative sine to y of 2 dy. Pero meron na tayong sine y doon. Sine to y dy, pero wala pa tayo nung constant na 2. So that is why we need to introduce a correcting factor of negative 1/2. Negative kasi yun positive. So that we'll need to use negative 1/2. With that said, correcting factor 1/2 sine to y times negative 2 sine to y dy. Cancel na yan. Then, negative 1/2. I know. Tama ba? No. This one should be cosine. Cosine. Kasi yung ginamit natin is cosine. So, 1/2 cosine squared 2y over 2 plus 1. Or negative 1/4 cosine squared 2y plus your integration constant. Tingnan nyo. Yung ginamit natin, yung integrand term natin na sin 2y, positive. Yung ginamit natin si cosine, negative. Inverse lang silang dalawa. Question 14. You're asked now to evaluate the given indefinite integral of sine 3y cosine raised to the 4th 3y dy. Bagal yung internet. Ayan. Ikaw na bahala kung saan ang gusto mong gamitin dyan. Si sin 3y ba or si cosine 3y. As much as possible, gamitin natin yung term na merong exponent. Okay? U is now equal to cosine 3y. Differentiate that one gives us negative sine 3y of 3 dy. 3 dy. In our integrand form, we already have sine 3y. But we don't have that constant 3. So that is why again, we'll need to introduce. Nawala rin yung ating negative. We'll need to introduce a correcting factor of negative 1/3. Correcting factor of negative 1/3. That is sine 3y cosine 4 3y dy negative 3. Matatanggal na yan. Magiging 1 na lang yan. So negative 1/3 cosine 4 plus 1. So 5 3y over 5 plus c. Lastly, that is now negative 1/15 cosine 5 3y plus c. Ito na yung ating final answer. Yan lang po siya. Okay? Again, this example, you're now asked to evaluate the definite integral of e raised to 3x plus 1 raised to 3 plus e raised to 3x. Remember, whenever you are deriving a function of exponential term, e raised to u, that is now equal to e raised to u du. Tama? Parehas lang, which is 1. But this time, pwede mo siyang i-expand as it is. E raised to 3x plus 1 raised to 3, then multiply mo si e raised to 3x doon sa expanded form. Or, use your power formula. Kunin natin si u, which is e raised to 3x plus 1. Tama? Where our n is 3, yung exponent ng term. Differentiating u gives us 3e raised to 3x dx. And our integrand, meron na tayong e raised to 3x dx. But, wala yung ating constant na 3. So, we'll need to introduce a correcting factor of 1/3. So, 1/3 integral of e raised to 3x plus 1 raised to 3 of e raised to 3x dx. So, makakancel na ito. So, I just have to do this one na lang. E raised to 3x plus 1.
Sir, di po magkita.
Ayan. Okay na? Ayan. Raised to 3 plus 1 is 4 all over 4 plus c. Or, that is 1
Over 12.
1 over 12 e raised to 3x plus 1 raised to the 4th plus c. Tapos, kung medyo masipag ka, expand mo, tapos multiply mo sa loob yung e raised to 3x. Pero ang tanong sa problem, express in the most simplest form. So, ganyan na yung inyong final answer. Last one. This is problem 17. How about you're asked to evaluate the indefinite integral of y cube ln 1 plus y raised to the 4th over 1 plus y raised to the 4th dy. Paano pag ganyan. Remember that the differential of ln u, or the differential of ln u, is simply equal to du over u. The differentiated form of the function over the function. Du over u. Para mas madali, ayusin natin yung problem. Ln 1 plus y raised to the fourth times y cubed over 1 plus y raised to the fourth dy. Anong gusto nyo gamitin? Yung y cubed over 1 plus y raised to the fourth, or yung ln 1 plus raised to the fourth power? Mas mabilis na tayo. Let's just say our term is ln 1 plus y raised to the fourth. Remember, the differential of a ln of a function, or logarithmic of a function, is du over u. Du, or the derivative of the function over the function. So, derivative of 1 plus y raised to the fourth is ilan? 4 y cubed over the function that is 1 plus y raised to the fourth. But, in the problem, we already have y cubed over 1 plus y raised to the fourth, but not the constant 4. So, we need to introduce a correcting factor of 1/4. So, for us to cancel that term. So, integrate ln 1 plus y raised to the fourth of 4 y cubed over 1 plus y raised to the fourth dy. Cancel. So, ano yung gagawin natin dyan? 1/4, meron yung exponent na 1. Nakalimutan nga isulat. N is equal to 1. 1/4 of ln squared, 1 plus 1, 2. 1 plus y raised to the fourth over 2 plus c. Basically gives us 1 over 8 ln squared of 1 plus y raised to the fourth power plus c. So, eto na yung ating final answer. Again, this is power formula. Again, this is power formula. How about if we're now dealing with a function having an exponent of negative 1? So that is now under logarithmic or logarithm function, where you are now asked to integrate an indefinite integral of du over u, which has an integral of ln u plus c. Again, u is your function, du is your differentiated function. With this one, yung ating function has an exponent of negative 1. So that is why we'll need to use logarithmic function. So that is, again, power formula. Ito lang yan, oh. There are lots and lots of possibilities involving your basic knowledge with differential calculus together with your algebraic function, trigonometric function, inverse trigonometric function, hyperbolic function. Pwede yan sa power formula as long as the exponent of the function is not equal to negative 1. The time that the function has now an exponent of negative 1, you'll need to use what? The logarithmic form or the logarithmic function. Yun lang po. So that is Module 2, Integral Formula, Part 1, the power formula.